We are on the record with the congressman. He is Greg Pence. He is, I assume, well, I don't know. I shouldn't assume. Where physically are you talking to me this morning?
I'm in the great state of Indiana.
Okay, good.
We're going to an announcement of an expansion of a manufacturing facility in Madison, Indiana, which is exciting. Let's keep bringing manufacturing back to Indiana.
Yeah, go economy. I want that to keep going. Let's dive into a couple of pieces and parts from my notes here. Greg Pence introduces a resolution to establish National Day of Remembrance of the Beirut bombing attack. Tell us about that one.
Well, we talked about that last year, Steve. On 1983, I was in Beirut, Lebanon, left right before they blew up that building, and 241 service members were killed. Unfortunately, we have to commemorate that each year unless we can get it permanently commemorated. Good news is, President tweeted out on October 23rd last week, which is the Remembrance Day, and said that we ought to make this permanent remembrance. The good news is, and the reason I kind of appreciate you bringing this up, here's an example of bipartisanship. All the Marines in the U.S. House of Representatives signed on to this resolution and are trying to help me get this done. I was a Marine 5.5 years. Semper Fidelis means always faithful, and I will keep fighting to have this as a permanent remembrance on behalf of my fellow Marines.
The Marine birthday is coming up soon, isn't it? November something? I think that's right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I will be celebrating November 10th. I will be celebrating it with my fellow Marines and some of the folks in my own hometown and county. We get together each year, and now we have breakfast. We used to drink beer, but we're getting too old for that.
Yeah. Greg Pence is my guest this week in Delaware County as we talk about the upcoming election next week. We also talk about news that has happened recently. There was the closure of a story. Muncie police investigated a shooting that happened in downtown Muncie that happened nearby your opponent, and there were some chatting and some talking about who may have been responsible. For our listeners' sake, and we covered this in our news last week, the MPD in their investigation determined that 2 youth were involved. It was a BB gun. They were messing around, and they determined there was no malice intended. Did you have anything to say about that situation, Mr. Pence?
I did. Oh, it's Mr. Pence now, Steve. Thank you. Thanks for upgrading me.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, we called for a full investigation when we heard of that. The rhetoric in campaigns these days, which I don't engage in. I don't do name calling or call out for anybody to do things. I think this is uncivil, and we condemn that those allegations immediately when we heard about it. So people need to stand down. They don't need to be engaging in any type of physical activity towards any candidate. It's just plain wrong.
Representative Greg Pence is our guest, and you mentioned the word bipartisanship earlier related to that story that I was just talking about there. Janine Lee Lake mentioned that the governor's office, of course, Republican Holcomb, was kind enough to offer some state police help there. So again, bipartisanship, Democrats, Republicans, et cetera. It's nice to see when people do get along. Let's go into our next subject here. I would be very surprised if you would say anything other than President Trump won the debate. I see in the notes here that you felt strongly about his performance in the second debate.
Yeah, and the other thing about my thoughts about the debate is I thought the moderator did a much better job than some of the other debates that we've seen all across the country. This gotcha questions where the focus is on the moderator. I thought that this debate, we actually got questions that each candidate had to answer, had a few minutes to do it, and I think we got both sides out a little more. I think that Vice President Biden's answer on the oil industry, I like to remind people I'm actually going to a plastics company that's expanding. Plastic is made with petroleum products. We can't get rid of the petroleum industry, and that's where I thought the president slipped past Vice President Biden.
Representative Pence continues to travel the district. That's one thing you've done since the get-go, and you've made it very clear in our interviews every couple of weeks or so that you like being face-to-face with people as much as possible. There's a difference in that fashion of dealing with people, isn't there?
It is. I spent most of my career in sales, Steve, and, I enjoy just getting out and here listening to people. In the last couple of weeks, I've actually gone to commissioner meetings, city council meetings, met with mayors, law enforcement, veterans, first responders, business, to make sure that I'm focused. And when we go back on November 16th, that I'm focused on what's important here in the Indiana 6th District. And the answer is continue to battle COVID and help small businesses, which in September, when we didn't get anything done, I did co-author two bills, the one extension and expansion of PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, and then expand the use of the funds that the Indiana that we already have in our state to continue to fight COVID on behalf of schools, first responders, and even expand some of the use of that money to focus on infrastructure.
Member of the House of Representatives, Greg Pence, doesn't have anything to have to do with this confirmation of the Supreme Court, but as we are speaking this morning, the full expectation is that confirmation will happen perhaps later tonight. Assuming that happens, what are your words and your sense and feeling about that nominee and quite possibly a new Supreme Court justice?
Well, doggone it, Steve, she's a Hoosier. That's all I have to say. We need more Hoosiers in Washington, D.C. to bring common sense and Hoosier values out there.
Awesome. Constituent service is something you talk about a lot also. You want to help, and you want people to reach out if they have any questions or comments. Tell them how to reach out to you in your office, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. We got 4 offices, one in Muncie, one in Richmond, one in Greenfield, one in Columbus, Indiana. But pence.house.gov, we've got all 14 folks' telephone numbers and emails, and we're here to serve you. Even if you're confused, we're the people to talk to, reach out, pence.house.gov, and we'll point you in the right direction.
All right, Greg, thank you. There, I called you by first name. Do you feel better?
Much better.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate the time.
All right. Have a great day.
You also. Bye-bye.
Thanks.